All right, Kim. Former President Donald Trump, we expect, is going to be back in Florida here within this next hour.
He's on his way home after pleading not guilty inside a Manhattan courtroom to 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. The arraignment lasted just 45 minutes. During that time, every charge was read aloud. The newly unsealed grand jury indictment alleges Trump directed his former lawyer to pay hush money to 2 women.
White House today issuing a firm no comment on the matter, but the next steps of the case are already in motion. Let's take a look. Former President Donald Trump walking into his historic arraignment on more than 30 charges related to business fraud. Tuesday's legal proceeding relatively short, but its impact on American history, seismic, unprecedented. Trump is now the first ever former or sitting president to be criminally charged. The charges center on a 2016 hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels, facilitated by President Trump's then personal lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen. Cohen was convicted for his role in that payment and testified to the New York grand jury against his former boss.
Michael Cohen did time for a crime that the federal prosecutors in Manhattan said Donald Trump directed him to do. And it was only for his benefit. And so Michael Cohen did the time. Now it's time for equal justice.
Trump is already looking ahead to the trial, posting Tuesday morning that it should be moved to Staten Island because Manhattan would be, quote, very unfair. Security around the New York City courthouse was ramped up ahead of the arraignment, with overall peaceful crowds gathering both for and against Trump, including a brief appearance by one of his most vocal allies on the Hill.
This is the former president of the United States of America, and the government has been weaponized against him.
He is not above the law. He should not be above the law. The analysis of whether or not he is or is not a former president should be irrelevant.
Next step for Trump, he'll be back home at Mar-a-Lago Tuesday night, where his lawyers have said they will dissect every charge in the now unsealed indictment to plan their defense. This is going to be a while now because the next hearing is not set until this coming December.
Right. The prosecutor asked for a trial date in January of 2024. The defense asked for a delay until spring of 2024. But regardless of what happens next, history has already been made. And to help put it into perspective, we turn to our Paula Tutman, who's tapped into her sources in academia. Paula.
Yeah, hi, because we're all trying to understand what we're looking at. And if you've looked at the charging document, you go, I don't understand this. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't understand why this is important to me. That's okay, because these kinds of crimes, or in this case, alleged crimes, can be some of the most intricate and most difficult to understand. If you look at the introduction, however, the 13-page introduction, it's not as vague. It might be a little easier to understand, but even in that, there's a lot of dissection that has to happen. Falsifying records in the first degree, listed as felony charges 34 times in the charging indictment from New York's grand jury. But what may be difficult for non-legal eyes to understand is this about payments made to a porn star as hush money, or is this about payments made by pulling money from an illegal pot and then falsifying the records? Professor Dave Dulio is with the Political Science Department and director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University.
I think that this case, like a lot of other things, is like an onion, and as you peel back different layers, you see all these different things. But it actually, I think, all goes back to what the prosecutor is going to try to say is a violation of campaign finance law.
Important to note that campaign finance law violations and white-collar crime are felonies. And in what the prosecutor calls the finance capital of the nation, felonies cannot be ignored. Professor Diane Hartmus is also with the Political Science Department at OU and a constitutional law expert.
There's a lot more that will be coming out in the days ahead on this. We have seen the tip of the iceberg.
So let's peel back the layers of those onions. Whom, if anybody, is hurt if campaign finance laws are broken? Well, this is money put into the pot by donors, voters, and supporters, and thus tightly regulated to dissuade corruption.
At the end of the day, I think it's to protect the voter, to make sure that, as I said, that campaigns are waged in a legal and dare I say ethical manner, in a way that is going to benefit everybody.
We believe that society as a whole is hurt whenever criminal activity is engaged in.
Yeah, so, you know, Devin laid it out when he did his story. So what the prosecutor or the DA will have to prove and what Donald Trump will have to vigorously defend is whether or not this money stems from payment to a porn star to silence her before an election, or if this was money taken illegally from a campaign finance pot to pay a porn star to silence her before an election and then falsified in official reporting documents to the state. And if your eyes just kind of glazed over right there, stay tuned. We're going to have a lot more of this. But I do want to make this point. It is important for all of us to read this and truly understand what this is. Guys?
And we've got that link to the indictment on our website. Paula, thanks so much. Much more ahead here at 6:30 on NBC.